Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. I'm continuing my little chain of reviewing all of the Dragon Ball S.H.Figuarts that I own, and I might as well keep the ball rolling with the Super line. So today we'll be looking at the S.H.Figuarts Hit. Now, Hit is an interesting one because him and Zamasu basically have no figures to themselves, same as Kefla, and it's sort of awkward that pretty much the only representation are like some small trading figures or S.H.Figuarts. I feel like there's some massively untapped potential there for officially licensed statues, but Hit is one of those characters that had a rather simple-ish design, but made a statement in unique fighting styles and unique power, and he was probably one of the first roadblocks that we saw in the Dragon Ball Super story, and visually looked way more different to what we were used to for Dragon Ball Z up until that point. And even if the design is relatively simple, he looked different to other characters and therefore stands out a little bit more, if that makes sense. But he made a pretty good statement in that original tournament arc, even if the rest of that arc was pretty boring. They forced Goku to go into the Kaioken Super Saiyan Blue state, and it was just cool to see. And he had his moments in the Tournament of Power as well. He's a fairly underrated character, I feel, and I think he should have a little bit more representation. But at least we do have this S.H.Figuarts, and they did go pretty all out for him because, again, he's one of those characters where he's probably only going to get one of these figures, so we might as well do everything we can. So taken out of the box, here's what Hit comes with, and it's, again, a pretty good loadout. So we get the figure itself, we get 4 alternate heads, not just faces, there's an alternate chest piece, a bunch of different hands, an effect part, as well as alternate skirt pieces to put his hands in his pockets. And that's pretty much it. It is a pretty good looking loadout, everything you need to recreate iconic poses. I will go over one of the issues that I have with this figure, but it's not a massive thing. It sort of just comes down to product of the time. But in general, really, really good loadout and a really good looking figure. So taken out of the box, here he stands, and he's got a very unique silhouette. This is built off the backbone of General 2.0 Dragon Ball era figures. But because he is a unique looking character, they have tweaked it quite a bit. So his torso is pretty much all new, his legs are a little bit different, and his skirt piece works way differently to a lot of the other skirt pieces up until now, and that they have done in the future. But Hit had a very unique look to him, very simple shapes, but a very thin silhouette, and the skirt hides his legs, making that silhouette look even more interesting. The dark colors look good on him. It's just generally a color palette we don't see very often in Dragon Ball with all its bright and bold characters. And Hit was sort of more muted, and I think that was a little bit more interesting. Now moving along to posability, he's pretty alright. So he's got a ball joint in the head and neck, somewhat limited by the collar, but it's fine. He doesn't have super dynamic poses. It's more so like simple motions that work better for him. His shoulder pad can hinge out. It's similar to what we've seen on a few other figures in the past. He's got a double hinge at the arm can rotate all the way around on a swivel, and there's a ball hinge at the wrist. He doesn't have much of a butterfly, but it is there. It's enough to get his fists in front of him for some iconic poses. And he's got a ball joint in the chest and waist. The upper chest is a little bit limited in terms of like range of motion, but it can crunch pretty damn well. The skirts are on just a little plug, so you can just pop them off. They do generally move out of the way when you pose him, just because it is a very soft plastic, but it doesn't have a hinge or anything like that, so they do pop off relatively easily. They are sort of just held in by the plug and sort of his belt, and his belt is a floating piece. It's a little awkward to get around. I typically pose him and then attach the skirt. That sort of works the best. But without the skirt, he's got some amazing forward and back with the legs, splits. He's got a good knee bend as well as a good pivot and bend at the ankle and toes. Really good range of motion, just visually a little bit limited if you want to keep the skirt on him, because without it, it just looks kind of weird. But in general, really good posability for the era of this figure, because it's a few years old at this point, where we were well and truly deep into the 2.0 figures, so they weren't pushing boundaries at that point, and this figure's got some pretty good movement. In terms of faces, we've got a neutral face out of the box, which looks nice. We've got a scowling face, which looks really good, teeth gritted angry face, and a mouth open shouting face. And there's a lot of emotion in the shouting face, and I really, really like that. Nice sculpted in detail. All of these faces look fantastic, and it sort of had that more modern style where they painted in all of the details of the faces, so it's nice to see that here, even though this is a little bit older than that sort of era when they started doing that for every single release. But with those accessories, you can get him into some pretty good poses. The hands in the pockets pose is as simple as popping off the hands and slotting in the alternate skirt pieces. Very simple to do, and the skirt pieces are labeled for left and right, so pretty easy to get that done. Again, like I said, depending on the pose, the skirt can sort of pop off, so I do recommend posing him into a pose and then attaching the skirt. Makes it a little bit easier than them just falling off all the time. But he can get into some pretty decently dynamic poses, and he looks good in even simple stances, because that sort of hits bread and butter. And I think this figure just nails his aesthetic really, really well. I do think that the skirt works even better in this regard, that it hides the joints super well, because he's sort of got body armor as well. It hides his crunching, his arms hide the joints super well. Its aesthetic as a figure is super good, almost looks like a statue, which is super cool. And even his energy effect is pretty good. It is a very, very standard energy effect, just plugs into the hand. And while I could do without it, it is nice to have regardless. And you do also get an alternate chest piece that allows you to move the arms a little bit closer to the chest. It's more so just for some more iconic poses. And I don't think it was super necessary, but it works well enough. You could have just cut the chest a little bit differently, but I guess that they wanted the aesthetic to stay like spot on at all times. So it's appreciated nonetheless. But with all of that, you can get him into some nice poses. Like I said, he looks good in most poses and pairs well with other figures. For some reason, I didn't really pose him with anyone, but he is a nice figure regardless. And I am happy that they did actually make a figure of Hit, because there's just not a whole lot of super representation figure-wise that aren't like the main characters or major antagonist characters at the time, like Broly. Like, there's even not very much of Beerus, and Beerus played a massive role throughout all of Super, so it's kind of weird for Dragon Ball releases sometimes. But yeah, that was pretty much it. That was my look at the S.H.Figuarts Hit. Pretty solid release, and if you do see him relatively cheap, I do think he is worth picking up. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you all next time. Oh hi, I didn't see you there. As you can see, I'm hard at work making new videos for the channel. Now, while I'm happy with where the channel is right now, I could use your help. By liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel, it helps out the YouTube algorithm and recommends my channel to more people. So if you like any of my videos, please let me know. It really helps out. And if you liked this one, please let me know too. It means a lot to me, and I really, really appreciate all of you guys.